When planning your next steps, like what comes next after secondary school, it can be useful to consider the next step after that too. If you want to pursue a certain career, for example, you'll need to make sure you gain the necessary qualifications first. If you need to go on to university, you might need to pick certain subjects at A-level. Today we're going to focus on some of the things you need to think about, but not necessarily start planning for, as the next choices and career aspirations. We're going to cover the importance of having a plan, taking the university route, including things like UCAS Points, applications, clearing and other routes to getting a degree, the concerns that you might have around the financial impact and moving away from home, as well as level 4 qualifications, internships and entering employment, how to look for work, what employers want and transferable skills, and briefly touch on things like volunteering, starting your own business and the practicalities of moving out of home, financial independence and getting your first paycheck. This is the last model in our FE Choices Week videos. Some of the content today will recap on other sessions, so we'll only cover these things briefly. If you're interested in more detail, you can revisit the videos, web pages and resources to use as a starting point for your own investigations. Now, throughout the week, the consistent message we've tried to send is that it's important to have a plan, or two, or even three. A plan, by definition, is a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something, an intention or decision about what one is going to do, a set of decisions about how to do something in the future, or a method for doing and achieving something, usually involving a series of actions or stages. Having one will make you feel more confident about your next steps. It means you've considered your options and then chosen the best ones. It'll give you an element of control. You've mapped out when, where, how and why certain actions need to be taken. It means other people or agencies can offer help and support, financial, physical, health and welfare, based on what your ideas you have. And it breaks down what could be a big goal into smaller, manageable chunks. It also helps you see the possibilities you might not otherwise know about. Researching how to become a nurse, for example, might take you to other similar careers and specialist occupations you've never heard of before, which interest you. Similarly, researching courses might alert you to a paid apprenticeship post doing exactly the same thing. Talking to a family member about your plans might lead you to start a work experience placement. The possibilities are endless once you start planning. When you start planning and researching your career options, you'll hopefully begin to realise that for nearly all careers, there are multiple ways of achieving the same outcome. Some are very direct routes that are well travelled, such as GCSEs to A-levels to degree. But there are so many combinations of qualifications and methods of studying that it'd be impossible to list them all in the time we have today or throughout the week. You can use the career roadmap planning tool we've provided on the Stockport Jobs Match website to plan your own individual route map and see how many combinations and routes you can take to reach your dream job. Spend as much time as possible identifying and researching what your dream job looks like, what you need to qualify for it, and how you go about doing it. The jobs market is always evolving, and there are new jobs and sectors created all the time. Printed references are a good starting point, but think about possible emerging industries and markets as well. Just as a quick example of this, can you think of jobs that didn't exist before COVID-19? What about before Instagram and TikTok? Which industries do you think will change? And how will this affect jobs that are available today? How can you prepare and react to something that might not yet exist? You might want to pause the video now to have a think about some of these questions. Now, on average, most people will have between 5 and 7 career changes in their working life. And it's possible to make moves between industries if you're aware of your transferable skills. This is how you can convince an employer to hire you. Perhaps you could try this out in the classroom or at home. Pick 2 jobs which seem unrelated and try to think of the skills you develop in one to gain a job in the other. As an example, teachers. They have good communication skills, they create engaging content which appeals to a broad range of people and interests. They work under pressure and sometimes long hours to tight deadlines, and they have to adapt to changing demands. Can you see where the transferable skills would help them move into, say, marketing or sales? Working on your transferable skills will increase your chances of securing employment. Around 75% of employers think that these skills are just as, if not more important than technical skills. Also think about the how. FE Choices Week aims to put as much of the hows in front of you as possible. We've invited providers to deliver presentations, as well as putting all of their information in one easy place for you. You'll find the resources and guides for all of the paths that we've mentioned this week on the Stockport Jobs Match website, as well as being able to talk to the providers and independent advisors throughout the week. These recordings can be watched with family, friends, guardians, so that you can share your thoughts and use them as starting points for further research. We also understand that there is lots of information and these are big decisions, so you can pause and replay the videos as many times as you need to and come back to them again and again. If you are watching this after the 14th of May, you'll still find that the providers are more than happy to discuss your options with you. Just pick up the phone, drop them an email, or use the live chat on their website if there is one. Now, we're going to come on to university. So applying for university. It's a multi-stage process, and if applying whilst studying, you'll receive support and guidance. As you can apply to university at almost any age, there are lots of websites dedicated to taking you through the process. And universities will have application guidance and criteria, along with other facts about higher education, that's HE, on their individual sites. The application process involves selecting the universities you want to apply for first, and this can take time, as there's lots of considerations to make. Will you move away from home? Is it a good university? Does it offer the courses that you want to take? What are the fees, etc.? Universities, like colleges, will have open days throughout the year where you can see what campus life is like and help you decide. There are also different application deadlines depending on your college, and they will review your application to help you have the best chance of succeeding. The university you are applying to and the type of course you're applying to study also affect that application deadline. Whilst this might seem confusing now, if you're applying straight from college, you'll have the time and support to complete this process, so don't worry about it too much. It's important to apply on time because, unlike further education, where the government guarantees sufficient places, degree courses may fill up and you may miss out on your choice. If you miss the deadline, you're entered into clearing, and we'll talk more about this later. Now, applications are made through UCAS, the Universities and Colleges Admission Service. You can do this on your own by registering online, or more than likely you'll do it through your college. The online application system costs approximately £20 for a single choice university and £25 for 2 or more. The entry requirements and guides for the forms are all online, and you can choose up to 5 different courses at different universities to apply for, but only once per cycle. Don't worry if this doesn't make much sense to you now. If you choose to apply, you'll have lots of help, and this is just a guide as to what may come next if you choose that route. Along with the application fee and form stating your details, qualifications and course selections, you'll also need to write a personal statement and have a written reference from someone who knows you academically. That's a professional, not a friend or family member. Now, we've touched on UCAS Points and what they are in previous modules throughout the week. Essentially, they are a table which converts your qualification from a grade into points. And you can look up these tables online if you want to know more, or use the free online calculators. You'll find a list of the common qualifications, so from level 3 upwards, that's post GCSE, and then each grade achieved in that qualification will have points assigned to it. It's one way of determining whether you have met the required standard to apply for degree, but certainly not the only one. Some universities and degrees will rely instead on the subjects and types of qualifications you have studied instead. As always, it's important to consider this now, because once you may not be planning on university 2 years at level 3, it might change your mind. When you're using the career maps to plot routes, research a few degrees which you might be interested in, look at the entry requirements, and make sure the plan you put in place now is flexible enough to adapt to the changes you might make when you are 17 or 18. Now, I said we'd touch on this briefly, clearing. So clearing is the term used to describe a matching process which offers places on courses which aren't filled to applicants who don't yet have an offer of a place. The period of clearing usually runs for a few months. Why might you be offered a place in clearing? Well, if you miss the important deadlines, you might be eligible to be offered a place through clearing. Likewise, if you don't have any offers from the applications you made, or if the place you were offered isn't confirmed once you have your exam results. There's lots of reasons why places might be available in clearing. In the same way you might not originally have been offered a place in the secondary school of your choice, or the college, sixth form, or further education provider. It's not just the bad universities or the unwanted courses which are available. People change their mind, move abroad, start a job or apprenticeship, accept a different place, or defer a year. Now, you probably won't be surprised to learn, if you've been watching our events this week or tuned into our videos later, that no, full-time study at university is not the only way to get a degree. You can study in stages and achieve a foundation degree either on an apprenticeship, at a college or training provider. A full-time HND foundation degree level 5 course will take approximately 2 years to complete, and it's equivalent to 2 years of a bachelor's degree. You can study a degree through an apprenticeship. This may mean that you attend university 1 day a week, but your degree may be fully funded once you earn, meaning that you might earn your degree without incurring any debt. You can also work towards a degree in your own time, long distance or online, through respected institutions like the Open University. Here you can break your degree down into modules and smaller chunks. So, what if you're not ready for university? And there's a couple of reasons why that might be. Firstly, financial concerns. This might be one of the reasons you don't feel ready for university. There's a lot of press coverage about student debt levels, which can be intimidating, and it's a big consideration for many young people and their families. There are lots of options available to help you finance your degree, and whilst taking out student loans can be an overwhelming amount of money, there are systems set in place to ensure you can afford to pay it back. HE options aren't usually funded, but you may be eligible for scholarships, grants, bursaries, or other assistance. If you're applying for university and you're estranged from your family, leaving care, or acting as an unpaid carer, there is financial assistance available to you, which you will not have to pay back. You might be ready to take a break from studying and work, or travel for a while. So gap years are a popular alternative and can greatly benefit you. You might spend a year travelling and learn to be more independent, which could help you prepare for possible campus life. A year working in a related field can focus you on your goals and help you relate to the theory taught on a degree. You might also not feel ready to leave home if studying at university means you live in halls of residence or student housing. If this is the case, you might build up your confidence by volunteering on youth schemes where you live away for short periods of time, or by taking part in programmes which aim to build independence and confidence. You could take a few cooking lessons or try and take your driving test so that you're more mobile and independent. Remember that just as with choosing your next steps now, just because you'll be 2 years older, it doesn't mean that the decisions you make will be necessarily easier or less scary. But hopefully you'll have learned some good strategies this week, which you can apply to making decisions at every stage of your career. So moving on, there are a range of level 4 qualifications that, just like GCSEs and A-levels, might not immediately be apparent whether a qualification is a level 4 or not. So some of the key terms you might see are a higher apprenticeship, a certificate of higher education, or a higher national certificate, HNC. If you're in doubt, remember to ask questions, research, and look at the entry requirements to give you a gauge of the difficulty of the qualification. Level 4 qualifications can be used as stepping stones towards degrees and master degrees, or as higher qualifications within their own right. You don't always need a degree for a profession, but you might enjoy studying for one, want to specialise further, or want to apply for jobs in higher pay scales, and a level 4 qualification could be applicable in all of these scenarios. So, other options. Internships. An internship is an organised period of work experience. They might last a week or a year. They differ to work placements because they are usually undertaken outside of the academic calendar and don't normally form part of a qualification. You might apply for an internship over the summer or after finishing your course. Some companies and industries will use internships to hire new employees, avoiding expensive recruitment campaigns and seeing firsthand your capabilities. So whilst most internships are only paid at the national minimum wage, many people choose to take them because they have the chance to work for a big name company or break into a field which is hard to find entry-level jobs in. For these reasons, applications can be competitive, and you should put the same amount of effort into your search and application as you would do in applying for a job. There are numerous benefits to completing an internship in terms of developing your skills and career, notwithstanding on-the-job experience that you will gain. There are the networking and references, as well as potentially additional training which your employer might sponsor or provide. A 2019 development study by the ISE showed that 87% of the respondents who said whose students had completed work experience through an internship, volunteering, work experience or work placement had better skills than those who didn't. When we reflect on the transferable skills we want to develop to gain employment and remain mobile, you can see the huge advantage that just a little experience will give. You can find internship opportunities in a number of ways. They can be found on the prospectus website, through job sites and the careers service. You could also approach a company with a speculative CV and a covering letter, or ask friends and family if they know anyone who might offer you an internship. So, looking for work. It can be a repetitive process, and since it can have an impact on your outlook and circumstances, it's best to approach it with a strategy that works for you. Just as there are many pathways into education, there are multiple routes into work. They don't all depend on searching, applying and interviewing. However, we can guarantee that the large majority of successful job offers require effort, patience and determination. You'll be familiar with platforms such as Indeed, Total Jobs, Reed, which are huge national jobs boards. They'll often appear first in any internet search. You can register for an account and apply easily with a one-click application. But the important thing to remember is that so can thousands of other applicants. You can apply for tens, maybe even hundreds of jobs a day in this way. But how many do you think will be successful? How many of these one-click applications do you think will convert into an invite to interview? And how many vacancies do you read properly when you apply in this way? Because of the volume of applications received through an easy application process, you might find that your CV has to pass through a screening process before it hits the desk of a real person who reads it. If your CV is not well written or formatted well, it might never get past this initial screening stage. If you're applying for lots of jobs, this can be very disheartening when you don't understand why you're not getting through. There are guides on writing your CV, help with applying on job boards, overcoming applicant tracking systems and parsing of CVs, what to do if you're not hearing back from job applications, and the use of key skills and keywords on your CV to help maximise your chances of finding work on the careers section of the Stockport Jobs Match website, which you can use to help increase your responses. The Stockport Jobs Match website works in the same way as any of the other national job boards. You can also register for an account and apply for over 5,000 advertised vacancies within Stockport and 10 miles, so across Greater Manchester, including temporary, permanent, full-time, part-time, apprenticeships and traineeships, volunteering and work experience jobs. You can create an account to save all of those applications in and monitor where you've applied, as well as being able to show this to your careers advisor, teacher, work coach or family members. You can also bookmark careers advice articles within your account to show the types of things that you've been looking into. Coming back to finding work, as well as job sites, there are also recruitment events. Some are like speed dating for jobs, where you'll meet multiple employers at one event. These might be virtual or in person. Careers fairs, jobs fairs, and Get Hired short programs are all other examples of where you can find employers who are hiring without doing online applications. Remember, if you go down this route, that first impressions count, and you should go prepared to impress any future employer. There are also organisations such as SmartWorks, who can help you prepare for the interview with new clothing and mentoring, and grants, such as the development grant from the Prince's Trust. See if you're eligible. All of the details of these are on the Stockport Jobs Match website. You could also find work through a speculative application, accessing those jobs on the hidden jobs market. If you don't know too much about the hidden jobs market, you can read an article about this on the Stockport Jobs Match website and how to access this pool of jobs. Speculative applications is a proactive approach where you send your CV and a covering letter to a business or take it in person and request that they consider hiring you either now or in the future. Since this is not a common approach, it could possibly get the employer's attention, and it's worth a try if you want to work for a particular company. You might have done this as an English exercise at school in writing letters. If you take this approach, remember that whilst you could write to several employers at the same time, the key is to show that you're interested in working for them. So tailor the covering letter and don't be tempted to send out something which is too generic, as they'll know that you've speculatively applied to lots of employers at the same time and your letter will lose its impact. Take your time, do your research and put in as much effort as you can, as it'll show when it lands on the right desk. Volunteering, traineeships, supported internships and apprenticeships are all alternative methods of using organised programmes to find employment. Again, it will depend on demonstrating your capabilities and impressing your employer. There are lots of services which can help you if you're still struggling to find work. The Job Centre, services for young people, and dedicated recruitment services specialising in teens. There's also social media, where you'll find groups set up to help you find jobs, or LinkedIn, where you can create a profile and build your network. If you use an online method to find or apply for jobs, remember to stay safe. Don't share your personal details unless you're confident and have checked it's a legitimate source, and be aware of phishing scams. More details can be found on the Jobs Match website. So, what do employers want? Employers want a range of things, but it might surprise you to know that for most jobs, it probably isn't all about the qualifications. Employers are interested in what you can already do, your skills and how you approach any tasks given to you, which comes down to experience and demonstrations of practical application of knowledge in your application and in interview, as well as a positive approach towards your work and your colleagues. They're interested in you, in your attitude to work, your team, your performance, your appearance, and your competency skills. A UCAS survey found that nearly half of the employers interviewing young people said that the reason they didn't offer them a job was because they felt their attitude wasn't right, as well as a significant lack of transferable skills like problem solving, teamwork, self-management, communication, and resilience. Developing your resilience is also a key factor in securing your first job, an area that employers feel is weak in lots of young people. This is how you react to setbacks, problems, and criticisms. Work experience is one of the main ways you'll develop both the evidence and practical skills that employers are looking for. Now, transferable skills. These are key skills that you develop in lots of areas of your life. And as we mentioned earlier on with the teacher example, these skills will help you navigate through life, change careers, and progress into more senior positions and achieve your studies. You don't need to learn these skills in a workplace, and many of them you may already have. You just might not know how to recognise them and sell them to an employer on your CV and at interview. To help you do this, try making a list of transferable skills, and then think about how and where you've developed them. Teamwork and communication, for example. You learn this by negotiating with siblings from a young age, by playing team sports, working on a school project, taking part in extracurricular activities such as scouts, guides, cadets, art groups, dance. An employer isn't necessarily looking for you to give work-based examples of all the skills they're looking for. When it's your first job, they understand that you won't have this. How you can make your application stand out and make interviews easier is by preparing how you can demonstrate that you're a good problem solver, team player, organised, or resilient. You might want to pause the video now and make a list of some of the transferable skills you think you might need and write down a couple of examples of how you've demonstrated them. Next up, we're going to touch on volunteering. So volunteering is a great way to meet new people, build your CV and confidence whilst contributing to others. There are lots of places you can volunteer. The charity sector, youth work, arts and sports, small to medium local businesses, these are all good places to start. The Inspired is a platform dedicated to helping young people get into volunteering. The digital director, Bob Barber, has also set up a social enterprise with Reason Digital, a Manchester-based tech for good organisation. This is called Volunteering UK, and it aims to match volunteers up easily with the causes they feel passionate about and get more people into volunteering. We're also going to hear later today in our provider webinar from the Stockport Council volunteer team and how to enrol with a scheme called Health Watch. Once you turn 18, there are also government-funded International Citizen Service Programmes, ICS, where you can volunteer abroad, and you might want to do this as a gap year or in between your studies. Next up, we've got self-employment. So we've mentioned self-employment a few times during the week. There's no age limit as to when you can start your own business, although if you're under the age of 18, you may encounter additional difficulties in terms of funding and creating a business bank account, for example. There are ways around this, working with a partner or family member until you're able to open your own, for example. There are several organisations who will offer you free support and mentoring with your ideas, so take advantage of these. The Prince's Trust, New Enterprise Allowance, and Peter Jones from Dragon's Den Enterprise Academy. You can find more about these online and on the Jobs Match website, as well as in our provider sessions later. More and more young people are setting up their own enterprises, and with social media, apps and markets growing in popularity, it's a growing industry and it's more accessible than ever. You can find additional support on the Youth Employment website. Funding for your business idea can come from multiple locations, and there are lots of different ways of checking your eligibility and applying. There are business angels, grants and loans. Some of this funding will come with additional support, and some will require you to deliver and meet certain conditions. Funding from businesses and organisations might be aimed at finding solutions to problems that have been identified, so you can search by sector for additional grants and awards that you might also be eligible for. It's possible sometimes to have more than one source of funding, so private funding via your own savings or personal loan and a grant or award. Financial help might come in milestone payments, so blocks of funding at particular points in a programme, or it may come with conditions and interest. Make sure you read through and understand all the aspects of any financial arrangement that you enter into that can help you, and ask for specialist help from an accountant or a business advisor if necessary. Whatever funding you apply for will require you to create a business plan. You'll need to explain your idea and why someone should invest in it, what they'll receive in return, and forecast your financial plans. This will include where your money is coming from, what you will do with it, how much your running costs will be, and what profit, if any, you are expected to make. You'll need to spend lots of time on this, and part of becoming self-employed means that you might want to attend courses while you'll have training and be able to work with others to create a business plan. Okay, coming on to managing your money. Now, managing your money is a really important part of transitioning into adulthood. This may be the first time that you've had to be responsible for your own bills. Your first paycheck, it's exciting, and it's tempting to treat this income in the same way that you would an allowance or pocket money if you've had this before. You'll need to get started on some good habits. Calculate how much money you'll need to travel to work, buy lunch, pay for any extras such as parking, clothes, phone, contributions towards the household bills, for example, council tax and utilities. These are electric, gas and water. Your employer will also expect you to manage your own finances, and not being able to afford to come to work will be considered a poor excuse in all but extreme circumstances. Start saving if you can, so that you'll have the enjoyable aspects of being an adult, as well as the boring, responsible ones. Holidays and socialising and getting your own place and car are all part of growing up, and if you plan carefully, they're all achievable. Stress caused by financial worries can have a big impact on your mental health and physical health, so get help early if you're at all worried about how to finance yourself. Payday loans and other high interest options can be easy to access, but you need to understand the impact of high interest on anything you borrow. Banks and other lending providers have a duty to lend responsibly, and they will have advisors to help you create a budget, invest and save, and make the most of your income. If you are leaving care or estranged, living alone, then you may have bills much earlier than your counterparts who are living at home. You should receive help and support from local authorities to map out your finances, set up accounts with utility companies, and access any benefits that you might be eligible for. These services are there to help you, so it's worthwhile engaging with them if you're able to, as it will make becoming an independent adult easier than doing it on your own. A couple of last things. Moving out. This might be something that you can't wait to do, or it might fill you with fear. At some point in your adult life, the likelihood is you will leave home and live on your own, in a shared house or with a partner. Preparing for this day is important, as there's lots of work involved in living independently. Taking care of your own bills, shopping, cleaning and maintenance of the property are just some of the tasks you might not have any involvement with once you live with your parents, carers and guardians. You might want to take advantage of the experience and advice available to you once you don't have the ultimate responsibility of your own place, to learn how to manage all of these things. Try to get more involved in the day-to-day running of a house, cooking, cleaning, washing, shopping, so that you can gain an idea of what's involved. You'll also need to understand contracts and your legal duties in terms of letting and buying. Earning your first salary. Your first salary is an exciting event and the first step towards financial independence. When you start your first job, your salary will be one of the things that attracts you to apply. There are a few different ways that a salary might be advertised: hourly pay, annual salary, competitive, or full-time equivalent. That's FTE. You'll need to understand how this can relate to what is referred to as your take-home pay. The posted salary is the amount that the employer is offering to pay you for the role before any deductions. The common types of deductions are tax and national insurance, workplace pension, and student loan. You may also opt to have other deductions, such as childcare or parking, if these are schemes that your employer offers. You can find salary deduction calculators online, which will give you a good estimation of how much you will take home at the end of the week or month. And you can use this to compare offers when they are advertised as hourly pay or full-time equivalent, to see whether you'll be able to afford to take on that job or not, when all of your travel and living costs are taken into consideration. You'll also get a wage slip, which will have certain information such as your name, national insurance number, and sometimes employee reference. It will also show you your tax code. This is how much you'll be taxed and what allowances you're entitled to. You'll see the amount that you've earned before deductions, and then how much has been taken off your salary and for what. On most slips, you'll also see your yearly totals, and it's important to keep your wage slips in a safe place, especially your end of year P60, which is a statement of what you've earned that year. Now, we briefly mentioned student loans. These are government finance loans, which enable those not eligible for free courses to study by borrowing money at a very low or interest-free rate. The Student Loans Company is a non-profit making organisation owned by the government. They lend money to students attending colleges and universities. Not all courses and colleges or universities will be eligible for student financing. If you feel like you'll need financial help to access education or training, there are student support services. who are able to offer you advice and guidance and will let you know about all of the criteria, as well as additional funding such as scholarships and grants, which you may be entitled to. If eligible and in receipt of a student loan, you will only begin to make repayments once you've passed a certain threshold. And if at any time you become unemployed or fall below that threshold of earnings, again, your payments will pause. There's extra funding available to increase access to higher education for those people for whom access is recognised to be harder. If you're estranged from your family, leaving care, or a young carer, for example, then it's understood that there may be additional barriers to applying and funding, but that you may also have followed a different path towards higher education. Okay, so I hope you found this last module really interesting and useful. But remember, it is just the starting point. Lots more information is available on the Stockport Jobs Match website and the GMAX website. On Stockport Jobs Match, if you go to the careers section and click on careers options, you'll find a range of career guides, employer day in the life videos, and sections on common FE pathways like A-levels, FE, alternative FE choices, apprenticeships, volunteering and work placements. Within the specialist support area, you'll also find links to lots of the additional schemes that we've mentioned today. And if you visit our training section, you'll be able to find out about all of the providers and the courses on offer. We hope you found these planning tools useful and wish you best of luck in deciding on your next steps. Thank you.